what do you think makes a song great?
A song that can basically just get you to the chorus before you even realizing you're there.
Oh, that's a good answer. Okay.
So that first 45 seconds is so critical.
Yep.
I say 45 because that's like essentially a pop song, 45 to a minute. Yeah, but if I kind of forgot how I got there, that's almost like one of those things where it's like a daydream almost, where how did I get here, or and that's when you know it's a good song. And also, I mean, sometimes you're actually in the chorus and you think, oh, this is really cool. Wow, I really like this chorus. And then all of a sudden there's this post-chorus that's, I'll use Britney Spears as an example for some of her songs, where the post-chorus is like, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, there's that extra gear where, wow. The good vibes show. So good. The good vibes show. It's gotta be good. The good vibes show. Nothing but a good vibe.
Hey, welcome to the Good Vibes Show. I'm Marie Hopkinson, and today I'm joined by Rob Agostini, a well-known producer, songwriter, and musician. Rob's worked with loads of artists, including Dido, Ronan Keating, Cahoots, Maude, Tim and Jean, Sun Ray, Jaz Dhami, Nikhita Gandhi, The Panics, Tiger Shroff, and Mila Jam. Rob has co-written a song for Dido that made it to #1 on the Billboard dance charts. Rob's most well known for his vocal producing, and he's very passionate about mixing, and especially in vocal mixing. We're going to talk about that today, what makes his mixing and his vocals very special and really great. You can check out some of Rob's work at the link below, soundbaker.com. And without further ado, let's have a chat to Rob.
Thanks, Murray.
Awesome. Rob, you're recently working with some really interesting overseas artists, and you were telling me about the interesting music that you're making with them. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
First up?
It's. I think we're specifically talking about India.
Yep.
I'm doing a lot of production, mixing, and mastering for some Indian pop stars and Bollywood actors, that kind of thing. That also sort of are also singers. So just working on singles at this stage with them all, and it's been a lot of fun. It's different. I obviously don't understand all the lyrics, so I try to get a bit of a synopsis for what the song is about. Sometimes there's the lyrics are in Hindi, and sometimes it crosses over in English. So after a while, I just don't really think about it too much. It's just the sounds of the words now and the emotions that are in there.
Yeah, it's a very fun vibe, isn't it? Most of the songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of them kind of down tempo and mellow and ballad, that kind of vibe, and then others have got a little energy to them, interesting percussion, that kind of thing. But essentially, it's basically Western music. It's like pop music, but just with different singers, and the singers are of high quality, and it's great.
Awesome. So cool. And you're off to India soon.
Yeah, I'm going there in a few weeks' time, so I'm excited. I'm not sure what to expect, but
oh, that's great. Awesome. So Rob, how long have you been working as a producer for?
I'd say it's probably going close to 20 years, really. Just started as a songwriter myself, and basically just that's kind of how it all began. And then started to help out with production for some local acts, doing sort of synth pop, sort of, dark wave, kind of electronic music. So that kind of cut my teeth on sequencing and stuff like that with Logic. So all these things were just, I guess, progressions.
Because lots of people want to know how to get into the industry, and there's like obviously many doors that people go through. And you've had a lot of experience working with lots of different people, right, overseas and all that kind of stuff. Maybe could you talk a little bit about how that's helped you, or what you think that's given you as an advantage doing what you do now, like working with other people?
I'm not sure, as in, trying to think how to break down that question. There's everyone's got their own taste, and you got your favorite acts, and then you've got, I sort of went through this process of when I was starting production, where I was just listening to everything in depth as much as I could at the time, trying to just dissect how it was made, reading magazines, just just absolutely, just, asking lots of questions for other producers and engineers I was working with at the time, or sometimes even not asking any questions and let them sort of show you.
Yep.
Just picking your moments, I guess. Just being passionate about it, all elements of it. But everyone's going to have their own flavors and influences. And I'm not sure how. I do a lot of different styles. I think a lot of that's probably come through just meeting lots of different people. And sometimes you just get thrown to the deep end where, look, we need an ad. It needs to sound like this. Needs to be this long, and then you kind of just have to do it until you complete it. So, a few of those moments that have sort of you cut your teeth on, and you get a process going on.
Yep. Okay. And what do you think keeps you passionate about doing it? Like, if you're doing it all these years, and obviously your job would require a huge amount of like creativity every day, right? Like, some musicians and singers or whatever are like, oh, I've got to be in the mood to do what I'm doing. How do you kind of like get in the mood every day? Like, no matter
good idea.
what.
Good question. It's at the moment I'm kind of lucky in a sense where I do a lot of the work I'm doing with indie, for example, even with artists in America and stuff, where it's kind of a lot of it's remote work. I think a lot of artists that I'm working with, where I'm mixing, for example, or producing, where they give me some, they basically just give me some autonomy and time by myself to sort of work on things. I know that's probably the best thing for me to do, get in my creative zone. And, I might have a deadline, for example, for something, and I can work towards the deadline. But if I'm not feeling like I need to work on that song at this point in time, I can kind of just work on another one.
Yep.
That's one way to do it.
But what if you don't feel like any song?
Yeah.
Like,
well, then I just don't work on any songs.
Okay.
Then I'll do something else.
Yeah, but it's a hard thing though, right? Like to have that job where you're demanding that creativity every day. And like, if you've got someone coming in, you can't just say, "Oh, sorry, I'm not in the mood to to do this today."
Yeah, I mean, I guess I try and break it down to the point where, example, if one of the songs is, just I'm working with a band and there's multiple songs and there's a tricky part that needs to be, I know they're going to have to tackle that on that day, I'll probably go to that first, just so I can, we're all sort of fresh, that kind of thing.
Get the hard stuff out of the way.
Yeah, I like to do that kind of thing, and then just I don't know, I think part of it being a producer as well is just managing time, managing expectations, managing a vision for an artist, like reading body language or, of people, thinking that, oh, I don't think they like that idea I just did, or and just letting them know that I'm not precious about anything that I'm doing. Like, if you don't like that idea that I had for that, we'll just delete it and I'll think of another one,
Yeah. And is that something you picked up from like working with other people, or that you learned in a course or something, or you've just picked up along the way, like reading people's body language? And
I think I've picked up on that, and I think once as well, not once, but a few times where I've been in other people's sessions when I was first, getting into recording and being a musician in bands and stuff, where I'd be in a studio or somewhere in a jam room or something, and I'm just taking notes on how the engineer or the producer at that time spoke to the band, or found a way around fixing something. And then after a few times of doing that, you kind of think, oh, I probably would have asked that question a bit differently, or would have suggested another way to do that. And then that's when I kind of realized, I'm kind of developing my own approach to doing things and process. But that took a few years to sort of, realize that.
Yeah, I think that's something that makes people, like, if you can make people feel comfortable, that's a big part of them unloading their creativity, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and a lot of people that come to the studio, a lot of them just say, "Oh, what a really nice, comfortable space. It's a really creative atmosphere. It feels like, it's kind of loungy, kind of like this almost." Yeah.
Well, every time I've come into your studio, I always feel like I'm in not fully like that, but like I always feel like there's an aspect of it being a bit like the casino where you don't know what time it is, and
Yeah.
like it's all like it could be the middle of the night, it could be the middle of the day, and like that idea of like time just passes by without you realizing, like being conscious of the time or going, oh, I got to check my emails or something like that. Like,
Yeah, definitely keep the clocks to a minimum,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it's pretty quiet there
Yeah.
as well, so it's really good.
Yeah, I think that's probably a big part of it, isn't it? That peacefulness of the
Yeah.
quietness. Yeah, that's good. And so let's talk about your approach to singer-songwriters, because that's something you're well known for, and like helping singer-songwriters, produce their music and take it from just sort of like a terrible thing, like mine was at the start, and then something really amazing. Because that's
Yeah, well,
something you've got a special passion for, right?
well,
Or very
well, I
well
don't
known
think
for.
your ideas are terrible. Let's just get
Well,
that out there.
I did have a lot of terrible music before.
I haven't heard them, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, how do I? What was the question? Sorry,
Okay.
how do I?
The question was like, if just that raw, like taking people's music that is kind of raw, and just there's just like maybe one instrument and a voice, and then it just becomes something much more than that.
Yeah,
And working with singer-songwriters to bring out their ideas and their projects and things like that.
yeah.
Like,
I think step one that I really try and just understand where the artist is coming from. Just because you did one sort of trick with one artist doesn't mean it's going to work with everyone. And so I'm kind of careful in not sort of overstepping that, because you could really affect your trust with the artist. So it's really interesting to get them to maybe send me a link to a Spotify track or a reference to a sound that they like, maybe a couple of different bands or something, so I can at least do some research on, get an idea of what they're liking, how the vocal is sitting. Are the vocals similar? Are they very different? And if it doesn't sort of match the reference, then I guess that's where I'll sort of come up with an idea. Well, what do you think of these kind of sounds and sound palettes, that kind of thing?
Yep.
And then breaking it down from there, arranging the song, just chording out the demo, as you know, just putting the chords there, have some sort of tempo thing, guide vocal, and just arranging the song. Yeah, I think is probably the next thing I do. And
Yep.
And just choose sounds that sort of work with the voice and the message.
Yep. So one of the things you're really well known for is your vocals, like producing the vocals. Can you share a little bit about like your without giving away your secret sauce?
Yeah.
What makes your vocals like special, or what do you pay attention to when you're doing that, when you're recording it, in that way?
Okay, big question. Yeah, a lot of people do come to me for vocals. They'll either book some time for me to record it, and then possibly it's mixed elsewhere, or if we're doing a project or a single or something, I'll do it from the get-go through to through to the completion. But if we're doing it from the get-go, I mean, one of the things that I would do is I'll try a couple of different microphones maybe on the singer, or I'll hear how they're singing in the room, and I'll just if we're just putting a guide vocal down, for example, I might choose a couple of different microphones where, okay, I just want to hear how their voice is going to sound through. It could be like a ribbon microphone or something.
Yeah.
So that's one way, just kind of just sneak in a couple of little sound things. So then when you do the final vocals, you go, okay, I remember this microphone being real well suited to them. It's not too sibilant, that kind of thing. So I guess microphone choice is one. I'm a bit of a microphone. I wouldn't say I'm a collector, but I've got probably more. I've probably got more microphones than anything else.
Yep.
Well, maybe plugins, but yeah. So microphone choice, making them feel comfortable, obviously, is a big part of it. The way that I've got my sort of studio is I'm not really facing the singer, which I think I kind of did that probably at the beginning when I was setting up the room. I'm not sort of facing the singer, and I think that's really nice, because a lot of singers, they kind of like to get lost in their own space, and they don't really want to think that someone's staring at them while they're recording vocals. And it's just the way it's. I kind of like it. I really like that. And I think the artists appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I think that's good. I didn't even think about that when I was doing my vocals at your place, but like now that I do, I think that's that would make me feel uncomfortable if someone was staring right at you, because you'll feel like I'm giving a performance, whereas if no one's watching you, you're only thinking about how you sound.
That's right. Yeah.
Not like, oh, am I,
and
on a show.
And some singers, it's the opposite. Some singers like to have people watching them, like the more people in the room watching them, the better they are. It's like, whoa, this guy's on fire. Like all of a sudden, put 3 people in the room and it's just completely different. So
yeah, okay. That's really good. So that's your job, right? To notice those things.
Notice those things, and whatever gets the right performance. I mean, some people like to be in the room with me and they don't like to be in the booth.
Right.
Some people, I mean, I guess these are things that, I've just learned to pick up, or I may even just ask them, or
Yeah, that's really important.
So I guess what do I do with the vocals? I mean, just guiding them, focus on the sections. I don't really get people to sing the song all the way through like 10 times. I've been really caught in situations like that with other engineers where, when I was sort of learning and stuff, where they've asked them, oh, just sing it all the way through. And I might do that just to first couple of runs, let them sort of warm up and stuff. But if it's like a super dynamic track where there's quiet vocals and then big choruses, I mean, I wouldn't get them to sing the same song 5 times, go to woe, because by the time you go and edit verse 1, it's for the 4th time, it's going to sound different from the first time.
Yep.
I mean, and I don't really do a lot of processing on the vocals. If you sort of catch any of my streams on Twitch and stuff like that, you might see some of my plugins and stuff, and it looks like, oh gee, you've got 10 plugins on there or 5 plugins on there. It's like, well, they're all just doing a little bit.
Yep.
There's nothing really heavy-handed going on there. So
you're not trying to change the original sound?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to, it really depends on what's going on with the music, I guess, but I don't really want people to hear what's kind of going on. It shouldn't really shouldn't distract the ear so much. It needs to be sort of contained and smooth and.
Yep. Is there any advice that you would give to people that are going to do their recordings, to record their vocals? Like,
use a pop filter, number 1.
Yep.
I was sort of recently part of something where I think they did use a pop filter, but the singer was just way too close to the microphone, and it was really quite tricky. Because anyway, long story, but so use a pop filter, I guess. And I mean, microphones these days are all pretty good. I mean, get a cloud lifter.
Yep.
I'd recommend a cloud lifter if you're using a dynamic microphone like a Shure SM7B or something.
Yep.
And
I mean, like, what about if people are going to do their vocal recording? Like, what do you think the singer should do?
Not get too close to it. I'm trying to think what else. Make sure the acoustics are sorted out where you're doing it.
Yep.
I mean, we're not going to really go through that right now, but
get
rid of some short reflections that are in the room, and don't record in a room that's a cube.
Yeah. Because the sound will.
Well, it'll just be terrible. Yeah, there'll be lots of different nodes in the room, and it's just you don't really want to record in a cube. Yeah, it doesn't sound great. Just maybe put some carpet here and there, and just be mindful of reflections, especially if you've got a loud voice.
Yep.
Because then once we sort of do the mixing and we add additional compression, it's going to bring out all these different sounds that are kind of unwanted, and it could take longer just to fix them.
Yeah, right. Okay. Cool. And so is there anything else that you think about when you're like, I've noticed when you record the vocals, like, you are very picky about each section, like, and you're obviously listening for certain things there to pick which one you choose as the main one. Do you want to share anything about how you do that?
Yeah, I think most of when just for example, sometimes I might have a pass on a vocal. The singer's done it, 5 times or something, and they're all very, very similar. Like most people that would come in, if they're not a musician, or they probably wouldn't hear the difference. What I tend to do is I tend just to run over them and close my eyes, and the one that kind of does something for me more than something else will be the one that I choose. It could be a little bit flat, it could be a bit sharp, it could have something in it. I don't really care about that. It's just the performance. Yeah.
Right.
So the one that moves me is the one that I'll choose.
Yeah. Is there something that you do to get yourself in that mode? Like, do you use mindfulness, or do you use meditation, or do you use or is that just something that you just do naturally because you've just been doing it?
Yeah, don't do it. Maybe I should be doing that, but I just close my eyes.
Yeah. I think that is a kind of a mindfulness.
Is it?
Just
okay.
closing your eyes
Yeah,
and concentrating on one thing.
I just close my eyes and just block absolutely everything else out.
Yeah.
And which is the one that speaks to me, which is the one that I want to keep hearing again.
Okay, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah. So you really simplified it down to just...
Because I'm going to hear it 100 times or 200 times or who knows how many times. And then when it's a hit, then everyone's going to hear it.
A million times. Awesome.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's really good. And is there anything that you'd advise singers to do before they come in to do a recording? Like don't talk too much, or say don't,
Yeah, don't talk too much.
Yeah.
Is one thing. I mean, especially if people are gigging and then after the gig they're talking to the fans or whatever, and then they're coming in tired or not sleeping enough. I think coffee is not great. Aspirated drinks aren't great. Drink some singing tea.
Yeah, well, I mean, the main thing in that tea is licorice as well. Like, that's a big component of that tea, and that kind of like coats your throat and sort of makes you sing better. And yeah, I mean, most singers kind of know what's going to be good for their voice or not good for their voice, but they might not realize about that constant talking because they're not thinking about it at that level, I guess, if they're first starting to do recording. Yeah,
it also depends on their jobs as well. If they talk a lot as a job, then I'd get them to sort of come in, and do vocals when they're basically on holidays or on a weekend or something when they're not working.
Yep.
So their voice is a bit more rested.
Yep.
It makes a huge difference.
Yep. Okay.
Another thing with the vocals as well is that I spend a lot of time on them. Even though we might sing them in an hour or two, for example, or even less, I spend probably 30 to 40% of the time. I'll aim to be spending on the vocals. It's the most important thing of the track.
Yeah.
And especially when I work with bands, especially in the early days where we'd run out of time because some guitarists, didn't know their parts, or the drummer wasn't as solid as they thought they were, so we had to spend a lot more time editing, and all of a sudden you get to the end of the line, end of the week, and it's like, oh, we're going vocals. It's like, oh, we've only got X amount of time, so the vocals are rushed. And you really kind of hear that. The vocals sound tired, or we have to redo the vocals. So yeah, I just take my time with vocals. I mean, let's not rush it when we record it. And then I don't rush it really when I'm comping. It's let the artist listen to it, take it away. What do you think of this comp? If we need to come back and change anything, I've got it all there. I can easily just fly in a different take, or I write down all the settings as well. So if we need to patch in a new one on a different day or a month later, we can get there. So
yeah, great.
Yeah,
that's so cool. And all right, so let's talk about some songwriting stuff, because that's something that you're also amazing at, and you write a lot of what?
I don't know if I'm amazing
you
at
are
it.
Amazing. I guess in helping other people create songs, or when you're writing a song, I always have noticed that you come up with some really good ideas about how to create an emotion in a song, right? So like I've heard you say something, oh, this will, like, whatever, like it'll make it louder, or it'll make it sort of, move the song on a bit more, or something like that. You've got a lot more creative words to explain
add
those
some
things.
dynamics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. What are some things that you like, some sound ideas that you could put out for people that want to sort of do different things to their music to make it more emotive, right? So let's say you want to make it like a song that really you want to get people to really feel something, like, connect with a deep feeling sort of a thing. Is there something that you think, like certain sounds that you use, or would it be just dependent on the track? But is there something that you think, oh, this will
I'll say,
make them cry?
I would say, I would say the melody is where it's
Okay.
is it really. I mean, everything just stops at the melody, starts and stops with the melody. I mean, and as you know, as a songwriter yourself, these melodies can pop out of nowhere. It can be in the middle of the night. You could be driving a car, hearing the same instrumental you've been listening to for a month, and then, oh, I got this idea, because the way that your brain works with different stimuli, and just, I'll stop the car, I'll record it, I'll tap it on my steering wheel or whatever, and get that melody out. Yeah, it really starts with the melody. I mean, whether you're going to sort of add any effects to it, reverbs and shimmers and delays and that kind of thing, all comes a bit later. But yeah, I guess you want to invoke a sound, invoke invoke an emotion.
Yeah, like you want to make people really connect with the song. So like, oh, I want to make these people cry.
Yeah.
Or I want to make them feel this thing that you're feeling to write the song. Like, are there things that you think about to create that feeling in a song? Like,
yeah, just the vocal is, I know it sounds like I keep going back to that, but even just example, just say you want the chorus to be a bit of a cry, if you like. Like it's quite like a higher note, So if you're singing something that's not quite in the singer's range, where it's not really sounding like they're pushing it, maybe you need to lift the whole key of the song up so that chorus can be pushed a bit more, Or maybe the first chorus can be lower, and then the second chorus is full voice, and you can sort of, things like that are really cool, because, or even like a broken down chorus, for example. So you've got like a few chances to get the audience in there.
Right. So if they didn't get it on the first go,
they'll definitely get on the second.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about like with your own songwriting? Like, are there, you mentioned like, if you get an idea, you just stop and write it down. Are there any things that you do that you find yourself doing, to create the songs?
All the time, yeah. Just, get your phone, you get a notepad, you hear someone, walk past you in the street, or some people talking about something. It could be, you just could fly through and just hear two words that you don't normally hear, or just write that down, watching movies or something. I don't watch a lot of movies, but when I do watch a movie, I'm actually still thinking, and there might just be, again, it's the combination of words that's a little unusual, and you go, oh, that's a good name for a song, or that's a good, that gives me ideas for a song idea. Reading some poems, I've been doing a little bit of that lately as well. So yeah, lots of different sources.
Yep. Okay, and then what do you do with that stuff?
You go when you're example, just say I'm in a collab session, for example. One of the things that you probably know, that I used to go to Germany quite often, or in Europe before
the world ended.
Before the world sort of yeah.
It's coming back now.
And and it's when you're in that sort of zone and collaborating with maybe one person or three people, you're stuck on a word. You're stuck on what are we going to do? Like, it could be stuck on a chord progression, or I can just go through my list and just start inertia scrolling through all the ideas that I've got that aren't being used, or you know what I mean? So
so you're building up that constant library of ideas.
I think so.
All the time, ready to be popped out at any time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what about like so let's say you're not in a collaborative session, you're just doing it by yourself. Like, what do you do? Like, do you pick up your guitar? Do you use a keyboard? Do you just sing it out? Like,
I would. It's a combination of acoustic guitar, phone, and I just start strumming and humming. Some songs I've done that literally, where I've got all the chords and the arrangement and the melodies in 2-3 minutes done. and then then you sort of piece it together later. Might be a lyric or two that in there somewhere.
Yep.
Or another way is just just in the computer, you've got chords or a loop, and then I just sing gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I'll rewrite the choruses 10 times if I have to. But it's all there.
Yep.
All the ideas are parked.
Yep.
until they need to come out, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I'll also give the same idea to someone else, and other collaborators and go, do you have any ideas for this? And then, oh, geez, I never thought of that. It's a great idea for a verse. So collaboration is a really great way to.
Yep. How did you get into doing that?
I think just having the studio and being a writer, I was just and people just started to almost bring me less. They used to think, I'm just going to bring Rob this idea and I'm going to see where he can take it. So that's really cool when people can trust you to do that. So that's kind of where it started.
Yep. And do you enjoy that?
I love that process. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite.
Like a Mr. Squiggle of songs.
That's funny.
Turning them into something cool.
They turn it upside down. And it's like this. Yeah.
And it's something different. Yep. All right. What do you think makes a song great?
A song that can basically just get you to the chorus before you even realizing you're there.
Oh, that's a good answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that first 45 seconds is so critical.
Yep.
I say 45 because that's like essentially a pop song, 45 to a minute. Yeah, but if I kind of forgot how I got there, that's almost like one of those things where it's like a daydream almost, where how did I get here, or and that's when it's a good song. And also, I mean, sometimes you're actually in the chorus and you think, oh, this is really cool. Wow, I really like this chorus. And then all of a sudden there's this post-chorus that's, I'll use Britney Spears as an example for some of her songs, where the post-chorus is like, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, there's that extra gear where, wow.
Yep.
So
yep.
that always impresses me as well.
Are you a Britney Spears fan?
Yeah, huge fan. Max Martin. Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm not ashamed of it. It's
No.
some of the best production you'll get. So
yeah, well, it's doing all right.
Yeah. Just go on Wikipedia and check out Britney Spears.
Rob loves Britney Spears.
No, just go to Wikipedia and check out the stats for "Hit Me Baby One More Time."
Okay.
And I don't think I've ever seen
the
stats with more number ones on it than that. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the opposite of that, when you're listening to a song and you're like thinking, oh God, when does this end? Like that would be the sort of a good tell of like it's not a great song. Yeah,
and that happens a lot as well when I'll just listen to playlists on on Spotify or something, and these are like all cutting edge. Every single artist has got like tens of thousands of views or followers, or sometimes millions of followers in this fresh pop thing I'm listening to. It's like, and I get to the first 20 seconds of it, and it's like I'm just not feeling it, and I don't know why. I'm just not captivated by the voice, or I thought that lyric wasn't great, or I mean, it's easy to pick songs apart, but that's the thing, we don't realize the amount of work that goes into these ideas,
Yeah. What about when you're writing a song? How do you work out which ones I should work on more and which ones I should just shelf, or which
That's
ones
a good
I
question.
should bin?
That's a good question. Because I've been involved in songs where I'll mention the Dido song specifically, because when we were writing it that day, we were writing for a particular artist, and we were like 2 hours into a particular idea, and we all kind of like just said, this is kind of not going anywhere. This isn't going to be great. It's going to be a song. We're going to finish it fine, but it's not going to be great. So we just trashed it and deleted it. And knowing that sort of, I've done that a few times where
you trash it and deleted it.
Trash and delete it.
That's commitment.
Yeah, I mean we're not going to come back to it.
Yep.
So
okay.
And and that's again, it's just managing time, expectations, and just managing emotions as well, I guess, to some degree, where this is not doing anything for me.
Yeah.
Like, why spend 8 hours writing the song where I'm going to spend probably another 40 hours in the production and another 10 hours of mixing it, and then, and go on and on and on. And then we might change the singer. And so, yeah, you want it to be a good song.
Yeah. What advice could you give for songwriters that are kind of struggle with that, like that process? Like, should they wait a day or a week? Is there some kind of thing where you think, okay, this is a test that you could give yourself to kind of
complete things?
Well, complete the song.
I think completing songs is important. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got hundreds of those ideas that you just mentioned, and it's really difficult to. I guess what I do is I have a bit of a memory bank, a bit of a palette of sounds, drums, beats, bass lines, vocal effects, chains, these kind of things.
Yep.
So I've got that kind of in the background, and then I'll go, oh, I really like that idea that I had in that song, but the melody wasn't great, but I like the production elements from it. Or so you can, when you're sort of getting to do it yourself on your computer, you get to know all these things.
Yep.
So I'm trying to get back to the question about how do you know if it's a good song or not. If you keep listening to it, is a really good example. Some songs I might show some people and they don't get really excited about them at all. And then, but for me personally, it's like, I kind of like that song,
Yep.
I'm kind of going through a bit of that phase the last few months where songs I wrote a couple of years ago or a year ago, it's like, oh, I don't like that song anymore. I thought it was great at the time, but I'm really not liking it. So I'm not sure if that answered the question.
Yeah.
Or not. But
I think that there are things that
finishing the song is important. Okay. Yeah, because this is as good as it's going to get.
Yeah. I guess if you're struggling to finish it, then that's hard. It's maybe not a song you could work on more. Like, it's as in it might be.
Yeah, come back to it. Come back to it if you're struggling to finish it.
Yeah. And like with, I guess, like, what about people who are just starting out and they're kind of like a bit vulnerable? Like, sometimes writing a song can be, like, sometimes friends and family will say, oh, that's great, because they are just really encouraging, and you're really not, that it's really might be terrible. Or the opposite can happen where you show people stuff and they're like, oh, that's terrible, but they're not the sort of person you should be showing that song to or showing them.
Yeah,
right?
Everyone's got an opinion though on music. It's so example, an artist brings an album out and you show the top 3 songs, and some people will just like different songs on the way. There might be one common one that everyone loves. It's like clear standout winner. That's the best song on the album. And then there's other ones where, I think I like that, but this other one is my favorite. It's the one that's number 9 or something. And, everyone's just got a different opinion. What they're going through, the lyrics they're connecting with, maybe they had a particular day where they heard your song, they were driving, they just had, something happen to them and it just connects.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it? Like when people hear where you were when you heard a song.
Yeah.
And you're like, that has formed that memory with in your mind.
And it takes you straight back to when you heard it the first time, or it's a powerful thing.
Yeah. Have you got any funny stories that you want to share about working with different people in your songwriting time?
Ooh, I've done a song I remember doing in Sydney, where I was in the Shangri-La Hotel and we were recording the vocals with a celebrity at the time, and the time that we were doing it had to be in the penthouse suite at the Shangri-La in Sydney. So I went up there to record the vocals. Of course, it's they've got the air cons running, so we're like trying to not, have that big super hum going on. So try to get time, ask them to sort of close a bit of it off in the area. But the funny thing is when you got to the top of the lift, the lift's bell in one of the lifts had this sound where it kind of like went, instead of just going bing sort of thing, it went boing, and it kind of like made this really funny curly kind of pitched kind of sound. So I actually sampled that on my phone, and I used that in the track as well.
That's pretty cool.
As a bit of a it was like a sampled synth with this little
Doorbell sound.
yeah. Well, yeah, it was a lift
Lift
bell.
bell, yeah.
But you never know what it was. But
Yeah.
it was just one of those things where it was just fun to use.
Awesome. Yep. Have you ever got any other really unusual little sounds from different things that you've
Yeah,
found?
yeah. I sampled like swords and knives sort of together
Yeah.
for this Singaporean artist I was working with, and she had all these swords and stuff. So we sampled some of those to put
Yep.
in her tracks and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yep. Anything else?
probably heaps of things.
Yeah.
Oh, paintbrushes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just paintbrushes on different sort of surfaces.
Yep.
Trying to think what else. Yeah, the usual, rice,
Yep.
sugar, that kind
Okay.
that kind of stuff.
Just the condiments.
Yeah.
Out of the fridge. Yeah, so those are some really interesting samples that you found from just being around, and I guess it's so great to have your phone on you where you can just capture those sounds as well, right? Like
Yeah.
just having it there.
Anywhere, anytime.
Yep. So another thing you're really well known for is your mixing. Can you talk a little bit about, like, without giving away your your secrets, what you're well known for in that field of mixing? Like, what do people come to you for?
They basically have heard stuff that I've done, I think, and then generally the feedback is that they like the way the vocals sound. So,
Okay.
and one of those things, it's one of those things that I've definitely worked hard to develop it. I've listened to other mixes. I get stems from anywhere I can when I was sort of first doing it, and also actually before I was even doing that, they were actually getting mixed by other people. So some of them were big people. They were Grammy winning mix engineers or just stuff that they're just serious people in the industry. And I've kind of like reverse engineered things, trying to work out what they did, what they didn't do. And then I guess the more that I've done, the more mixing that I've done, I just basically developed my own sort of how I like to hear the human voice, I guess.
Yep.
And what people seem to like. So yeah, I don't know. I like a fairly full-bodied voice. I don't like the top end to sort of take my ears off. I like the sibilants to be under control. I like the mouth pops to a minimum. I like the doubles to be in line with each other. I don't like. I like the ad libs to be a certain sort of EQ as well. It's a song by song basis, but I think it's just how I'm hearing the vocal in a song. Everyone hears songs and music differently, so.
Yep.
And sometimes as well, I don't necessarily get it right. Sorry, the first mix that I do, like there might be some feedback on, there might be some feedback, from the artist to go, can we make it sound more like that, or can we just reduce this a little bit? And it's like, that's a really good idea. So, and it's mixing is a bit of a collaborative process as well, where you have to work with the artist and how they're hearing it as well. So.
Yep. And like, what do you do to to keep your ears good and to keep your ears, I don't know, like
Sharp.
Yeah, exactly. Like, do you
do
ear exercises?
I do. I don't. I tend not to mix too loud, so I don't sort of. It's not like silent or anything, but I tend to mix fairly quiet. If I've got a room full of people and they want to hear it loud, I'll crank it and I'll just walk out. It's like I don't need to hear it that loud. But sometimes, if I want to get the low end right, I might crank it a bit or get a vibe for things. One thing that I learned as well, just watching, when I first started doing this, YouTube videos weren't out there, but obviously since then I've also started watching my mentors, my people who I think are the best in the world at it. Unfortunately, some of them don't do anything online.
Yeah.
They're just complete phantoms. Other people have like ghost producers and ghost mixers.
Another ghost producer.
Just example. Just say I might get someone else to produce a track. I might have two or three different producers I work with.
Right.
And then they basically sign a waiver saying that they're not named, and I'm named. and then I basically,
Yep.
you know, that's
Yeah,
like
like
ghost
you've
production.
outsourced your business.
Outsourced it, and that producer waives their sort of right. They've been paid for their service, or
Yeah.
so yeah, a lot of people do that as well. And what was I going to say was
Yeah, keeping your ears good.
oh, I keep my ears good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I wear earplugs if I go to loud concerts and that kind of thing, or if I'm in a really rowdy sort of loud pub or something, I'll put some earplugs in. I mean, they're not like, don't put in your earmuffs or anything like that. I can still hear people talking, and
Yep.
it just keeps my ears fresh. I tend not to, I just shorten my days as well, where I have a shorter day. And if I'm mixing by myself, I'll definitely come back to it. So I might go for it for 2 or 3 hours. I'll stop, come back to it after an hour break or something. Yeah,
Do you think that prolonged listening wears your ears out?
definitely. Yeah.
Yep. Or your
Yeah.
brain capacity to hear it properly?
I mean, I think just fatigue in general. I mean, sometimes I say that, I take a break after 2 or 3 hours. That's a little bit ridiculous sometimes, where, I'll have a 15-hour day and I think, wow, I think I took a half-hour break today.
Yeah.
But if you just keep it below 85 dB, I have a little sort of measurement thing there to make sure I'm not listening to things too loud for too long.
Yeah, and people can get those on their phones now free.
Yeah,
There's lots of free apps they can
I
check.
think 85 dB, you can listen to it for 8 hours straight.
Okay. Right. So people should be, if they're doing their own mixing at home or they're just trying to protect their ears, they shouldn't be listening to stuff.
Yeah,
over
keep your
85.
monitor levels down and keep your headphones down as well.
Yeah.
Don't crank your earbuds and stuff like that too loud for too long.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else any ear exercises you do?
No, that's it. That's it.
Don't
I think.
get ear massages or
No ear massages. No, not yet.
anything. Did you do anything in the beginning to train your ears to hear certain things that you have learned how to do it, or was it just a natural thing that you could hear?
I think one thing that was really important for me was I did a couple of master classes. I did one with George Massenburg. I did another one with Bruce Swedeen in Florida. So Bruce is he passed away recently, but he basically is the guy that engineered, he recorded and mixed pretty much every Michael Jackson song.
Wow.
So it was a group of 9 of us there. Went to Florida, and I learned a lot with himself, and also just the team of people that he had. He had a couple of guys that were teaching us stuff about acoustics on the side and engineering and bit depth and nerdy stuff like that. And just simple things like this is how reverb will sound if it's 16-bit as opposed to 24-bit.
Yep.
Just detail like that you really do train your ears. One of them was in Australia with George Massenburg in Sydney, where we basically said, look, just prepare a track that you've mixed, put all the stems and the mix in a session, and we're going to open them up. And there's like 11 of us in this big studio in Sydney, and then George Massenburg basically says, who wants to go first? Let's dissect it. And I just, I was like keen.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll go first.
Yeah, right.
And then, and even just from that sort of experience there, basically like being so revealing in front of all these other candidates, in the studio session where, oh, your overheads were too high, or this, and he basically just could pick apart the recording
just from hearing
the Maude tracks.
Wow.
And then and then he commented on the mix, and so I was one of the fortunate ones where he was quite, maybe it's because I went first, he was kind to me, I'm not sure, but some of the other guys didn't kind of get the same sort of feedback, but that's why I went there, for the feedback. And yeah, I mean it's all it's all basically being cumulative.
Yeah.
So
you didn't do a course at the start, or you did do a course, like when you
No,
very first started doing it?
No, I've never sort of done any formal sort of audio, other than the master classes and clinics that you have to apply to get in for and show them what you've done, that sort of thing. I haven't actually I've never been to the SAE or anything like that.
Yep. Wow. So that's amazing that you've just learned it all. You've taught yourself it all.
Well, I think a lot of people
Yeah.
have done that. I'm not I think a lot of people have come from that
Mm.
singer-songwriter background
Mm.
and gone to the next sort of thing. So
Yeah, but it's highly technical.
it is. It
Like,
is technical. I mean, if I wasn't doing music, I wouldn't say I wouldn't even have a computer today. But
yeah,
I didn't get a computer until I wanted to start making music.
yeah,
It
okay,
was that's the only reason why I'm so into computers. It's
yeah,
like it's my tool to get things done. So
mm, yeah, yeah, interesting, cool. And so people can follow you on Twitter, sorry, on Twitch, and on oh, you've got a Twitter probably as well. But you do live stream your mixes sometimes on Twitch and also on YouTube. Rob has a massive amount of tutorials on how to use different things in Logic because that's your main platform that you use, right?
yeah,
And um, your obviously the Twitch thing is interactive, like people can ask questions and interact on that. So we'll put the links to that below if you're interested in like finding out
yeah,
about how Rob does his stuff. You can watch him in action on the Twitch.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, hop on there. It's actually it's one of those things where it just started. It was quite terrifying when I first started doing it.
Yeah.
Like I'm just going to create a song from scratch with not
Mm.
knowing what I'm going to be doing in front of people.
Mm.
And after a while, it kind of just builds on itself, and you get more confident in it, and then you actually quite like teaching people and
Mm.
showing stuff to people.
Yep.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
led to the extra sort of study that I did. So yeah,
Yeah. So Rob's, you just finished a Cert 4 in training and assessment. And I went to a microphone course that you did a while back, and that was amazing. Like, just that's what I mean by the technicality. Like, it seems like the knowledge that like it's just another level of knowledge that you have about. I mean, I'm sure other people have that knowledge too. So like, but you're very good at explaining that and what how microphones work and you know like the physics of it or the
yeah,
electrical engineering
and they're
side
all
of
just a
it.
little bit different. I mean, they all do different things, and yeah,
Mm. Yeah, so you might be doing some more courses or
yeah. I'd
something
like
like
to do
that in the
another
future.
microwave.
Yeah, it's similar. A microwave course.
Yeah, just put your song in there.
Yep. Bing, and
2 minutes.
it's done. Yeah,
That's
that could
funny.
be a new market for you. Microwave course,
Well,
microwave song.
who thought that you could bake in a microwave?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you might be doing some more courses and
Yeah,
and
the microphone mastery course that I had
mm,
last year.
yeah,
I think that was quite favourable. A lot of people enjoyed that, so yeah, I'd like to do that again this year.
yep,
I might make it a little bit less, maybe a little less technical this time, a bit more hands-on
mm,
sort of thing. I think that the hands-on element is so important in
yeah,
this.
yeah. Well, it was really good. Like what just so people know what they'd be missing out on if they don't come to the second one, is that you had all different microphones. Like you do have an investment portfolio of microphones at your studio, so you get to see all different microphones. But you also had, interactive times where people could test out like two different microphones working together, or yeah, and I guess a
Yeah,
lot of people that don't have the access to those things, or they're thinking, oh, should I buy this microphone? What will it sound like? That was a really great opportunity to
yeah.
sort of
How
see
do I
those
use it, or
things.
I've been using it incorrectly, or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that was me. I was like, oh, I've been doing that one wrong all that time. Like,
yeah,
and then you kind of know how to set it up because sometimes you go to a lot of trouble, especially like you might not be doing it as a professional recording, but you might be doing something to make content for your YouTube or your Facebook or whatever, and you go to all this trouble to do your song, and then you've set that stuff up wrong, and it's just going to sound really bad
yeah,
because you just didn't do one thing properly
yeah,
that you could have sorted out.
yeah. The recording from home and or just doing it yourself
Mm,
can be great because people are comfortable. They can do it in their own time. If you've got a good space, it's fine. But yeah, there have been a couple of recent things where, even ones in the past, where the plosives have been an issue with not using a pop filter, or they use too much compression on the way in.
mm,
Um, What else? Another one, a common one recently has been basically those shields that you get,
Yeah.
that you put around microphones and stuff.
Yes.
Sometimes people are putting them too close to the microphone.
Oh, the ones that go behind this
Yeah.
way,
So
right?
if they're too close, then all of a sudden you have this sort of comb filtering because the back of the microphone is reflecting from the back of the shield, from inside the shield, and coming back into the microphone.
Right.
If it's too close, it can.
Yeah.
So basically, it sounds like you're sort of singing into a bucket or something, you know. So, as you know, bit of an extreme
Yep.
situation, but it kind of sounds a little bit like that,
Yeah.
and you can't really fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to be able to get that stuff right. Know a little bit about it.
Yeah,
Yeah. It'd be great if you could do that as an online course too for people. Maybe
yeah,
who
it's
are
definitely
into it.
something I'm going to be looking into. Just yeah,
Yeah. Good. Awesome.
there's so many different facets to it, you know.
Yeah. So great. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending your time to
You're welcome.
explain
Thanks for
your
having me.
give people some tips and tricks and some ideas. And yeah, you can check out Rob's music. If you go to his website, you do have some samples of some songs you've mixed on there.
Yeah, there's
right?
about 40 songs in there in the playlist.
Yep. So
Yeah.
you can check that out, and that's a good way. That's obviously how people they hear what you've done, and they're like, "Oh, I want you to
Yeah,
do mine, do."
yeah,
And so if you've got songs you want mixed or advice on the song or something, you can send
yeah.
it to
Or
Rob.
even, or even like I was saying before, about demos as well,
Mm.
where if people want to sort of send me a demo before, you know, working with me, just, you know, because some people just, and they want to find the right producer to work with their songs, you know, and we'll have a bit of a chat and they'll hear, you know, what I think of the song or whatever, and some people will resonate with what I'm saying and some people won't. It's,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd highly recommend you because you're really good.
Thanks.
And I've had a lot of comments on the songs that I've put out so far, the singles, where people have said, "Oh, that's the one thing they definitely comment on, the vocals." They're like, because I love my voice.
Yeah, well,
But they comment. A few people just send me comments just about the production. They're like, "Oh, those vocals sound great." Like, what you know, there was a comment this week. Someone said that, like, they were asking about the vocals and the production, and like that's obviously, you know, your special thing that you can't get anywhere else.
maybe that's
Yeah.
it. Maybe that's the golden ticket.
That's it. All right. Thank you so much. And make sure you click those links below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And I'll see you again on another show soon. Bye.
And a news flash, it's been reported that the world is feeling nothing but good vibes for the first time in world history.
So how do you start it?
Like I was just going to.
Okay. All right.
So how do you keep your ears good then? That's a terrible one. Keep your ears good. Sorry. Just reframe that.
So, well, how do I keep them gooder than?
How do you get your ears good? Click here.